estate is booming in the Charleston area. Today, I talk with an expert who knows all about real estate, Realtor Noel Lawhorn, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Noel Lawhorn, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to see what we're talking about here today and describe my passion for real estate here in the market.
As a matter of fact, you are a realtor, a speaker, a life coach, a CFO, and an entrepreneur. How else would you describe Noel Lawhorn these days?
So who is Noelle? Noelle she's everything. I would like to think of myself as like walking through life I'm not perfect at all, but I really think I'm being very intentional about harmonizing all the different aspects of my life currently. And that's probably the most important part to me, because not only you just read like my roles that I play in my life, but, in addition to that, I'm a woman of faith. I absolutely love my family. They are my top priority. So, playing and having a part in all those many different roles and aspects of my life and businesses that I operate, there sometimes is a challenge to make sure that I'm showing up for myself and through self-care and self-love. Also, for my daughter and my family and my parents and everyone that, know and love me and help remind me of, who I am and what I stand for. It keeps me going. It's like my fuel to the passion that I drive with.
So who are you and what do you actually stand for?
So I am a real estate agent in the Charleston market, and I definitely stand for my mission is to kind of bridge the gap with the generational wealth that's here and also increasing the homeownership rates within the Black and Brown community. That is definitely my mission. It's my priority. I believe that's my why of what the reasons why I got into real estate. And the way that I have gone about in increasing the awareness and increasing home ownership within our Black and Brown communities is through knowledge. I spend a lot of time with clients and advising them and just imparting knowledge on them and letting them know the ins and outs of the real estate and the market, home equity, and just understanding those different tools and utilizing my systems to be able to increase knowledge around real estate so that it's becomes a casual conversation within our communities and more knowledge based as opposed to, going on social media or rumors or generational kind of, things that stand between us. We can own homes, and it is definitely one of the best investments that you can make in your life. So that's who I am.
In 2021, ma'am, what was the home ownership rate for Black and Brown people in Charleston?
I can give you the rate here in 2022. Because this is 2023, so I've been focused on 2022 because we did actually see an increase in the Black and Brown communities. However, the rate is substantially different from the white or Caucasian rate. What I look at is kind of looking into the national average, and national average Caucasian homeownership rate is about 76%, and the national average for the African American or Black community is somewhere around below 30%. So last year it bottomed out about between 26 and 28%, depending on what research that you use. I like to get my stats from the National Associations of Realtors, which actually is going to pull from the local and the statewide markets.
So what was that average, obviously that rate for home ownership rates between Caucasians and African Americans year to year?
One more time, what was your question?
Yeah, what's that home ownership rate year to year when you think of Caucasians and African Americans?
I don't know what the year to year, I know what last year was. I don't know how it plays out year over year. I do know that it is substantially increasing. When I started real estate back in 2018, that rate was like literally at the brink of the teens. It used to, for African Americans, the rate was about 10 to 11% in home ownership nationwide.
So from 2018 to 2023, what is the biggest difference about real estate now?
I would say just honestly, the market has done a shift. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to bring more awareness to and knowledge and the actual facts from experts. One of the biggest things that is absolutely in front of our faces right now is the high interest rates, or higher, what we would consider higher than average interest rates. However, I have been using and trying to use my platform to inform others and educate them that what we are seeing from year over year is actually this, and this is decades over decades. This interest rates are on a nation average of about 6.5% to about 7.5%. So we are still within the nation's average of an interest rate. And one thing about the interest rate is it does have a major effect on affordability. So when we see what happens here in our Charleston market, where we see home prices are continuing to go up, and then we saw an increase in interest rates going back towards the national average, that may actually become an issue with affordability within our Black and Brown communities. And also, I would just say within our locals. So we are able to see most local Charlestonians who are working and maybe, making anywhere from the the $7.25 an hour up to about $15 an hour are unable to afford an actual home in the Charleston market because the interest rates increase. Now, as they're kind of stabilizing a little bit, going towards the average of the 6.5%. At one point, we did see interest rates almost peak to 8%, and that would take a buyer's pre-approval amount from anywhere from where we can see the buyer may be pre-approved for $350,000, and that can drop them to about $280,000, just from seeing the difference in an interest rate. So I will say that was one of the biggest aspects. Now, we did see, I cannot take the moment to explain why during the time period from 2020 to about 2020, end of 2021,
Yes,
we did see below average interest rate is what I would consider a once in a lifetime kind of deal. So I spent a lot of time educating people and telling them, take advantage of this. The interest rates in real estate are based off of the market. So as market tends to fluctuate, so will the interest rates. And in this current moment, I'm speaking from 2020 to 2021. In this current moment, they have dropped well beneath the market average, which is about 3%. I've even closed on some buyers who got a 2.75%. I myself was a little jealous. I was like, oh, is this what your interest rate is? So what we saw during those time periods is we saw an influx of buyers, which increased the demand for housing in the Charleston area. And then we also saw an influx of sellers who were taking the time to refinance their homes. So mortgage lenders were backlogged as far as for their workloads. And then we also saw that the sellers were able to either refinance their home, take out home equity lines of credit, HELOC loans, to repair and renovate their homes, and or they would also sell their homes to be able to, take advantage of the low interest rate to buy their new home, whether they were upgrading or they were downsizing.
Yes,
so it was a beautiful time in real estate. We definitely saw some realtors who hit their top numbers and peaks that they've ever seen in their career. However, if you, as an experienced realtor, I knew that the interest rates were very based on the volatile market, which tends to shift and fluctuate. So it was a great time period, but it wouldn't last. And honestly, if I could be transparent, I'm kind of glad to see that it is actually starting to, average out and kind of mellow out, because it was actually turning where buyers are overbidding for properties, which had a drastic impact. I don't think we've even seen the actual impact that has made yet. I think that will come in about 2 years or more. But I will say that had a major impact on affordability, and especially in the Charleston market.
And I'm running out of time due to my Zoom limit of 40 minutes. But let me ask you this briefly. How many buyers in the Charleston area were overbidding for their homes?
I don't know the total amount of buyers that we're overbidding. What I can give you is, for instance, if I was helping a client, if I was helping us representing a seller, and we were putting the house on the market, on average, there were about 24 showings on that property within about a 72-hour window, and you were on average seeing about 6 to 8 offers. And out of the 6 to 8 offers, more than half of them were overbidded offers, meaning that the buyers would pay over the asking price in order to win the bid for that particular property. And that was a very concerning piece for me because, going into the home where you're overpaying into the home, homes are not like cars. They don't typically depreciate in the real estate market, but you do want to at least go in on market value so that that equity remains within your home.
So when it comes to obviously that overbidding, how many offers did you actually personally got as an agent?
I received several. So I had several listings. I had several buyers that I was representing for myself and for my former team. So for me, on average with my listings, as I said before, it was about 8 offers, and the amount of showings were substantial. So it was about 8 offers. And some agents, I've actually had properties where there were about 16 offers on. But I would say it all depends on the property, the location. It all depends on the condition of the property. The price point of the property was very important during that time period as well. So if it was falling within a range of, like, on average, our affordability kind of range here in the Charleston market, which would be anything around 380,000 to about 280,000. If it fell within that range, you were looking at multiple offers during that time period.
So what was the affordability range during COVID?
That's what I'm talking about. Yep.
Okay.
The affordability range during COVID would be about 380,000 to about 280,000 in our market. And during that time period, that if you listed and sold a property during that time period, you're likely to have more than average showings and also multiple offers, and in particular, more than likely some offers that were overbidding on the property as well.
So how many properties did you sold during COVID?
So in 2021, my team, a former team that I was a part of, we closed out as Realtors of Distinction, and we sold a total of 54 homes here in the market. And then 2022, where we see the market is shifting and still closing, we still were a very, very strong team, and we closed out at 51. So I'm definitely blessed, and my goal this year is to go right back up to at least 52 homes. I am definitely looking to help 52 families here in the Charleston market.
So how could you do that when the market is actually shifting?
By education and knowledge. So one of the major things that I did want to point out here today,
Yes, ma'am,
is I actually have a free ebook that I would offer to anyone who actually reaches out to me. You can send me an email, you can DM me, and what this ebook is it actually lays out interest rates on the rise, and it shows you how to beat out actual higher interest rate. It gives you a step-by-step guide on how to buy during this time, and that is whether you are a first-time home buyer, a veteran, whether you are a current homeowner who is looking to sell their property and use that equity in order to leverage out to the new purchase of your home. This ebook is hands down, it's absolutely fabulous. There's also some of the recommendations for lenders that I'm affiliated with as well, who will give you a game plan so that we can be able to utilize either your equity and or the funds that you have in your assets to be able to beat out those interest rates that are currently happening.
So how many current owners and veterans on first-time home buyers are actually using this?
So there are several. So that is actually my niche. I love to work with, I am certified military relocation professional and former Coast Guard spouse. So it's actually who I desire to actually work with. And I spend a lot of time with our veterans and our active duty servicemen. So there is, with Charleston, and there's several different aspects of the military here, including the joint bases here. So we bring in, and we are a very transient city because of this. So I actually help with the majority of my clients are going to be military and veterans and eligible for the VA loan. So, and whether or not, and to be honest with you, There's definitely a shift there, and I would love to dig in and do some more research to see how many veterans are actually going no longer first time home buyers, but have learned through the pandemic how to utilize their funds to sell and buy and continue investing into real estate. So Charleston market actually has a great opportunity for our veterans because your BAH rate, or your basic housing allowance, is actually peaks at an affordable rate, so you can actually buy a single family home here in this market and still, be within your BAH range. So that is a blessing definitely here in our market.
So when do those veterans usually hit that peak?
When do they usually hit the peak to
Yes,
purchase?
ma'am. That's right.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, they actually, most of the time what I see is so I deal with military relocation. So I spend a lot of time, on social media and connecting within private groups, military, wives and military family groups, where we're able to help those clients who are saying, hey, I got, PCS orders, or permanent change of station. I have orders to come to the Charleston area. Is there anything that you can, anybody can guide me along the way? And so at that point, then I would be able to provide them market research and be able to give them, these are some of the top restaurants, areas, events that are in the area. These are some of the top schools based on these ratings, and just kind of help, them steer and navigate the Charleston area, because there's so many different, little pockets of towns and cities that are beautiful. However, for me, one of my biggest goals with those families is knowing that their duty station here is temporary, more than likely. So they'll be here on average, usually from 2 to 4 years. So what I do is I like to have a consultation with those clients to help them be able to understand that, where we purchase your home, I would like to help you purchase it in a development area that has appreciation of value, so that when you get ready to PCS to your next duty station, I'm in hopes to be able to help you cash out on some equity in that home, and you'd be able to make some funds to either move comfortably to the next duty station or purchase your next home. And several of my clients since 2018 are moving along to their second and third houses, and that makes me so excited, because it really just goes to say, like, what I'm imparting in knowledge and wisdom on them,
Yes,
they're
ma'am.
utilizing, and they've actually seen the fruition of it. So that's a blessing for me.
So how many of those people have actually moved on to their second and third homes?
Out of my total clientele, so I have sold a total of I don't keep my numbers. Don't judge. It's a spiritual thing for me. I am not big on keeping an everyday number, and I'll say that is because I really focus on the relationship with my clients more so than the transactions.
Right.
So that is a thing that keeps me humble along with my process. But I can, just off the top of my head, I would have to say, oh man, the number is real. Let me give this fact.
Yes, ma'am.
One of my favorite transactions was in 2020. In 2019, excuse me. I met a young active duty military member, and this is one of his first PCS stations. He's about 20 years old, 19 going on 20 years old, and everyone at his duty station was telling him, hey, this is a great market. You need to connect with this realtor that helped me. You need to buy. Don't rent here, because your BAH will allow you to buy. And even though you're only going to be here for a while with the Coast Guard, about 2 years, this agent will help you sell this home, and you'll make some good money off of it, right? And he called me out the blue, and he said, hey, such and such from base told me to call you. Like, what can you help me do? I don't want to move into this apartment here, because I have my cars and everything that I want to do, right? And so I had a consultation with this client, and lo and behold, very quickly, we formed a rapport and a relationship where he trusted me, and he realized I was very transparent. I wasn't after going after the transaction for him. We actually had a game plan. We had a mission to help him purchase a home, in an appreciation area where he would be able to cash out on the equity when he goes to move to his next duty station. That is exactly what we did. I helped him purchase a home from actually one of the members that was on the base. So therefore, in that deal, I actually doubled up on that deal. I represented the buyer, I represented the seller exclusively, and I helped the buyer transactionally. And then from that deal, the 2 years later, almost on the mark, 2 years later, I verified that he, would be able to maneuver around additional taxes because he's owned his home for 2 years. And we put that baby up on the market. He was no longer here. He had already moved in PCS. He was renting this property out for just a couple of months. So he stayed within his VA guidelines. We sold that property, and this kid cashed out about $80,000. He was extremely excited. We sold the property in less than average days on the market for his community, got over asking price even in this shifting market. This is the end of last year. He still got over asking price in the end of 2022 in about the fall, November, December timeframe. And still was able to get the equity out on his home and move on into the new area, which he is now relocated into the Boston, Massachusetts area. So just an example of moving into the developmental areas, working with a knowledgeable realtor that is able to actually say, this is on average where we're seeing this appreciation. And there are so many areas in Charleston, and on average, we're about a 15% appreciation of value area. But then there's little pockets of, West Ashley area that's about 17%. Huh. You have Somerville area, which is strong at about 15 to 16%. Those are the areas that you want to purchase into if this is not going to be your dream and forever home, and you're looking to increase your home equity so that and appreciation of value so that you can be able to utilize those funds and actually cash out as a seller and net a great amount of money.
So what are those typical over asking prices?
There is no actual average. I wish that we could say there's like an average of a person's, paying, a buyer's coming in over $10,000 over the asking price. There's no particular average. I would say that it's pretty situational depending on the actual home. And one thing is, experienced agents will kind of call, depending on their buyer and their client's interest level, they will kind of call and reach out to the listing agent to say, how has the interest been in this home? Have you gotten a lot of showings? Do we have any offers already in hand or expecting any? Because then that tells you, based on your client's interest, where you should come in for that number in your offer bid. But there's no actual average. You just want to do, for me personally, if it is my client's desire and they absolutely fall in love with this house, right? I am going to do in order to represent my client, I'm going to do what is best in their interest. I do not believe in going over the market value because I do really position myself to inform my clients about appreciation of value and equity in their net. So, I typically don't encourage my clients to go over asking price, but because there's other terms in an offer that will not require you to overbid. There are other things that a buyer can be able to contribute towards a sale in order to assist the seller with netting more money back and getting more of their home equity out during the sale of their property. So that's just one of those tidbits where, as an experienced agent, you want to represent your client in the best way possible.
So what exactly is the market value right now, Mal?
What exactly is the market value?
In Charleston.
In Charleston, yeah. So each city has, kind of has their own market stats. If you follow me on social media, I do provide those numbers here from our local Charleston Trident Association of Realtors. I do provide those local average numbers broken down by the actual, you can get these numbers by county. You can get them also by towns and cities. So I do provide them, and you can also find them on my social media pages at Show and Sell with Noel. And you can find each one of those market averages, but they do vary based on the location, because we know location is key to real estate.
Absolutely. So where do you put these, say for these veterans, for instance, where do you put them as far as development areas? Where exactly are those areas right now?
One thing is, when you're representing veteran, one of the main things for me is I like to learn where they came from. what's the previous location that they came from, and what were some of, again, I told you, I really spend time in getting to know them on a relationship basis, right? So I find out where they were previously stationed and what were some of the things that were challenging to them in their previous station. So for some people who maybe come from the DMV area, with Virginia, and they were, far from a base, so, traffic was terrible. It takes them 45 minutes to an hour to get to a grocery store kind of deal, but they're used to the small town feel. It's really just diving in with them, asking them all of the questions to really, and it's purposeful questions to figure out how can I utilize my market, because I'm the market expert. I'm born and raised in the Charleston area, so I know the little towns and pockets and cities and places to be. And so I just try to ask those questions so that I can know what is most important to you. And based on that conversation, I know, and I can kind of utilize my system and my tools to be able to help them search within those areas. And so if their must have or something that is important to them is being close to where they work and they're stationed on one of the joint bases, then I will help them look in either the Goose Creek, the North Charleston, anywhere from 526 and back area, so they will have a shorter commute to be able to get to and from work. But it is truly based on what their wish list is. I have veterans that come in and they want to be city center, Mount Pleasant, close to downtown, West Ashley, right? And then we also have those veterans who come in and say, look, I just came out of a very busy town and I would like to be a little bit more secluded. And so they tend to find that Ridgeville, Moncks Corner is beautiful for them. It has just enough development. It has just enough, the schools are closed, the grocery stores, the shopping, the retail is closed. And so they're okay with moving out to those areas and they're okay commuting to and from work as well. So it all just, every one of them are individuals. I can honestly say that over a 5-year course of a career span here, every single person has been completely different, which makes every single real estate transaction different and unique. And I think that's what drives me. I love that.
And in all these years, what were the total transactions for your company?
I don't have a total transaction number. That may sound so weird. Don't judge me, you guys. I promise you. I don't know a total transactions. I don't want to guess either. I know I am far above the 85 mark, closer to the hundreds or so. Listen, it's just because I really, that is a me and God thing. And I made a pact with him that I wouldn't count them in order to stay humble and stay intentional and focused on working with each and every single family that I can assist. So, yes, I'm sorry. I do not have a number for that.
Oh, no worries. Of course, as the journalist, I have to ask those questions. But let me ask you this: what is your goal for total interactions in the next 5 years?
So, in the next 5 years, mine is very year based. I tend to do breaking down, large goals like that into some like KPIs. So this year, I can speak for this year alone. This year alone, I am looking to help about 52 families. But the ironic back end of that is I am not counting the families that I am helping now, and so it's just one of those things where I do monitor my business as a realtor because you see, I own multiple other businesses. Right. I do keep track of my numbers. I do actually, monitor them, but I try my hardest not to keep count, because one thing is, as a realtor, and for those who are looking to get into real estate or maybe newly licensed, one thing I will tell you is the things that we wish we would have known before joining real estate. You never count a transaction. You never count that transaction because so many different things can happen. So many fall throughs, backing out can happen. You can't count a real transaction, and most people can't count it up until literally till they find out that it is closed, not even a clear to close. So I do keep track of my numbers and my transactions. I have a system that keeps track of it. And it monitors and keeps me on to my monthly, to my quarterly, to my yearly goals. However, I try my hardest not to say this is the number, this is the number, this is the number. As of January just closed out, and I was able to actually help on average, I need about 4 families a month in order to make that 52 goal for me for the end of the year. And then I have a teammate as well who's newly licensed. So I've trained her and mentoring her in order for her to close and help us get to that end of that 52 number, right? And so I'm not putting the pressure on her to, understanding how real estate actually works. It is not a get rich quick kind of career to get into. It is a very slow and steady, and you have to build that rapport. You have to become an expert, a market leader out there. So I don't put that expectation on her, but we do have goals to meet, right? So for me as a team lead, I am looking to help about 4 families a month. And that is about all that I count is, did I meet my mark? Did I help those 4 families? And is my teammates on their progress with what goals that they have to come in and serve for the team? So that's kind of my breakdown. I do have numbers. Don't think that I'm crazy as a realtor without numbers. I do, but I'd like to help people as opposed to focusing on transactions.
So let me ask you this, Miss Noel. Let me ask you, how many fall throughs and backouts did you actually have in 2022?
Not one.
Wow.
Not one. So I do look at my numbers after the end of the year. I have not one fall through, not one back out. My clients are intentional. What I find is spending that additional time to really consult with them on their must-haves and following suit on those. Because you see all these beautiful houses and buyers tend to change their minds and say, oh, well, I didn't know I wanted a fireplace until I saw one. Well, I'd like to have realistic conversations with them, which is, do you have a current fireplace? How often do you utilize it? And so is that really going to be a must-have for us, and determine whether or not we're going to get a great deal with this house and, a fantastic offer and a fantastic opportunity to get this home offered and accepted under, within your price point and your budget and pre-approval amount? Or are we going to have to go after this home here because it has a fireplace, and we're going to have to really negotiate this price point here? So really spending that intentional time with them and consulting them. Absolutely not. And then on the sales side, representing the sellers and the listings, spending a lot of time preparation prior to putting the house on the market. By the time the house gets on the market, at that time, that house should be show ready for selling. I like to look at a quick 30, depending on the needs of my sellers, 30 to 45 days of closing. And so I spend time with my sellers whether or not I recommend we do a pre-inspection on the home, so that they will have their inspection already in hand, so that we can go ahead and start working on those items. So when an offer does come in, we can negotiate the terms of the offer, and we can communicate with the buyers and the buyer's agents that this home is going to pass and come clearing off of the inspection. So therefore, we are looking to increase the terms with the buyer to ensure that there is not going to be a fall through or a fallout, or this client is going to back out. My sellers love that, because what it does is it gives them a lot of assurance that my agent is representing me on the best of her behalf, and she's really intentional about making sure that my home is actually going to be ready to close and ready to sell. And so that's one of the techniques. Another technique for me is I spend a lot of time doing market research and home values. So for neighborhoods and different areas. So by the time my client comes to me and they say, hey, this is my address on my home, I'm going to do an extensive comparative market analysis on their home. And I'm going to tell them, based on the different options of the loan programs that a buyer can utilize within this area, this is the price that I would recommend. And that is broken down by some extensive research and knowledge into that area. I even calculate not only from square footage, I calculate based on the appreciation of value and how that appreciation has been turning month over month in order for us to get those numbers to what we should list this home for and put it up for sale. So I don't believe in overlisting your property. Let's put it for what it is worth, so that other people that are within other communities that are already, dealing with higher interest rates and appreciation of, and affordability issues, they will be able to see your home because it's not overpriced price, and now it's not filtered out of their actual wish list and their list of homes that are coming to those buyers. So it's a full circle way of
yes.
yeah, it's a full circle way of really preventing fall throughs. I can brag about my number from last year. I can give God the glory because on my listings of last year, I actually had an extremely low price change, which is very important. It means that I'm listing these homes for what the market value says that they are worth, and I'm getting the sellers back their top dollar on their home. And my listing change number was below, it was literally 0.26.
Yes, ma'am.
So
yeah,
that is
yeah, very important. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time. But what is that appreciation value right now here in the Low Country?
So it is actually, on average, we're still seeing about anywhere from 12 to 15%. And the reason why it is going to be a range of appreciation because it is based on the tri-counties. So it's 3 counties, and then we have, again, different areas that are going to have higher appreciation of value. So we see a West Ashley that has 17.2% appreciation of value. We see a Somerville that's going to have 16.9% appreciation of value at times. So each one of those cities and towns are going to have different appreciation. So on average, the Tri-County area is seeing anywhere from 12 to 15%, which means that we have a strong market here in Charleston. So despite what we're seeing nationwide, Charleston will remain a strong market for the years for 2023 and for the remaining portions. They're predicting within about 5 years, we're still going to have a very strong and actually shifted market. So it's getting towards a more balanced, where it's not a high sellers market and it's not a high buyers market.
And earlier you talked about obviously people refinancing early on in the years 2020, 2021, and most of those realtors obviously got backlogged. How did you get backlogged because of that?
No, I did not. So that's why I recommend using any of my affiliated lenders and mortgage brokers that I have experience with. No, I actually, my team, by the grace of God, we were able to close about 5 times the amount that we had seen from the year 2019. So in 2020. So it was a blessing for us. No, we did not. So when a client actually refinances, I do sometimes get reached out, but it's really because I believe because I educate about real estate to the community. And so someone may reach out to me about, what does it look like for me to refinance right now? What are my options? I am able to say, here's a great lender that you can ask questions to prior to them running your credit and, putting anything out there. They're not here to, hurry and try to capitalize on your equity. They will actually inform you of these are your options for it. So as the backlog, it wasn't too affecting for me as a realtor.
Sorry about that, but I'm running out of time. Noel Lawhorn, thank you for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much, Quintin. Follow me, guys. Show and Sell with Noel.